During the reunion cruise, my relatives voted me off the shared cabin, saying, "You're too much of a buzzkill." I was paying for the entire suite. So I upgraded to a private yacht tour and left them downgraded to economy berths. I, 32M, should have seen it coming when my aunt suggested the family reunion cruise. Not because cruises are bad, but because whenever my extended family gets together, I somehow end up being the wallet with a heartbeat. The plan was simple. My parents wanted to reconnect with my dad's side of the family, people we hadn't seen in years. My aunt pitched this 7-day Mediterranean cruise, and everyone got excited. Then came the logistics. The premium suite that could accommodate 8 people cost nearly $14,000. When the group chat went silent after seeing the price, I made the mistake of offering to cover it. My parents had helped me through college, and I'd done well for myself in software development. I figured it was my turn to give back. What I didn't account for was who else would be in that suite. Besides my parents, there was my aunt and uncle, my 2 cousins who were in their mid-20s, and my uncle's brother with his wife. I barely knew half these people. My cousins had been teenagers the last time I saw them, and my uncle's brother was practically a stranger. But family is family, right? That's what my mom said when I hesitated. The cruise was supposed to depart from Barcelona. I'd spent weeks handling the booking, making sure everyone's preferences were accommodated. My younger cousin wanted a room with a balcony view. My aunt needed to be close to the elevator because of her knee. I juggled it all, coordinating with the cruise line, upgrading where necessary. The suite I finally booked was spectacular, a multi-room accommodation with a shared living area, private bedrooms, and a massive balcony overlooking the sea. The first 2 days went fine. We explored Barcelona, took photos at Park Güell, ate tapas until we couldn't move. Everyone seemed genuinely happy, and I felt good about making it happen. My parents kept thanking me, and even my usually critical aunt mentioned how well organized everything was. Then we boarded the ship. The suite was even better than the photos. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a stocked bar, plush furniture, and enough space that we wouldn't be cramped despite the number of people. Everyone rushed to claim bedrooms, and I ended up with the smallest one. I didn't mind. I'd paid for the experience, not the largest bed. That night, we all gathered in the shared living area. The ship had set sail, and the open sea stretched endlessly beyond our balcony. My uncle broke out some whiskey he'd brought, and we toasted to family. It felt perfect. The cracks started showing on day 3. My cousins wanted to hit every party on the ship. The cruise had themed nights, clubs, pool parties that went until dawn. They kept pressuring me to join them, but I'd been working 60-hour weeks leading up to this trip. I wanted to relax, maybe read a book, enjoy the excursions during the day, and get decent sleep at night. I wasn't interested in getting drunk and dancing until 3 in the morning. My younger cousin made some comment about me being boring. I laughed it off. But then my older cousin joined in, saying I was wasting the cruise by not taking advantage of everything the ship offered. My uncle's brother, who I'd barely spoken to, mentioned that young people should be more spontaneous. The conversation had an edge to it that I didn't like, but I tried to keep things light. I told them to enjoy themselves, that I'd catch up with them during the day excursions. They left for some foam party, and I stayed back with my parents. We had a quiet evening on the balcony, which was exactly what I wanted. My mom asked if I was okay, and I told her I was fine. She seemed worried about the tension, but I assured her it was nothing. Day 4 was our stop in Monaco. I'd arranged for a private tour guide, something I'd researched extensively. The guide was excellent, showing us hidden spots most tourists missed. My parents loved it. My aunt and uncle seemed to enjoy it too. But my cousins looked bored the entire time, constantly checking their phones and whispering to each other. When we got back to the ship, they disappeared again. That evening, I returned to the suite after dinner to find everyone except my parents gathered in the living area. They looked like they'd been waiting for me. My stomach dropped before anyone said a word. My aunt started talking, saying they'd all been discussing the situation. She said I wasn't really participating in the family bonding experience. My cousins chimed in, saying I was bringing down the mood, that I was too serious, too much of a buzzkill. My uncle's brother said something about how the trip was supposed to be fun for everyone, and my attitude was affecting the group dynamic. I stood there, confused. I asked what they meant. I'd organized everything, paid for everything, joined them for meals and excursions. What exactly was I doing wrong? My younger cousin said I made them feel guilty for wanting to have fun, that my presence reminded them they should be doing something more productive or educational. My older cousin said the suite felt tense when I was around because I was always just sitting there, reading or working on my laptop. Then my aunt dropped the bomb. She said they'd taken a vote, and the majority agreed it would be better for everyone if I found alternative accommodations. She actually used those words. Alternative accommodations. On a cruise ship, in the middle of the Mediterranean. I looked at my uncle, who avoided eye contact. I looked at his brother and wife, who I barely knew, and they just nodded along. The only person who seemed uncomfortable was my aunt, but not uncomfortable enough to back down. I asked where my parents were in all this. My aunt said they'd gone to the evening show and didn't know about this conversation. She said it was better to handle it without them getting involved. The audacity of it hit me like cold water. These people, staying in a suite I paid for, on a cruise I organized and funded, were voting me out because I wasn't entertaining enough for them. I asked if they were serious. My younger cousin said they weren't trying to be mean, but yes, they thought it would be better. They'd already talked to guest services about me switching to a different room. Apparently, there were some inside cabins available, no windows, but I could move there for the remainder of the cruise. Something crystallized in my mind right then. I wasn't angry. I was done. I told them I needed to think about it and went to my bedroom. I packed my essentials, grabbed my passport and wallet, and left the suite without another word. I could hear them talking behind me, probably relieved I'd gone so quietly. I went straight to the guest services desk. The representative was helpful, probably used to family drama on cruises. I explained that I needed to make some changes to my booking. She pulled up my reservation, and I watched her eyes widen slightly when she saw I was the primary card holder for the entire suite. I asked what my options were. She explained that since I was the paying guest, I had full control over the reservation. I could remove people, modify the booking, or cancel entirely, though cancellation would come with penalties given we were already sailing. Then I asked about upgrades. She seemed confused at first, but I clarified. I wanted to know what premium options were available for a single guest. She pulled up some packages, and one immediately caught my attention. The ship had partnered with a luxury yacht company that offered private day tours at each port, with an option to spend nights on the yacht instead of the cruise ship. It was essentially a cruise within a cruise, designed for wealthy passengers who wanted even more exclusivity. The package included a private cabin on a 60-foot yacht, a personal crew, gourmet meals, and customized excursions. It cost $8,000 for the remaining 4 days. I booked it without hesitation. Then I addressed the suite situation. I told the representative I wanted to downgrade the reservation. She asked if I meant to a smaller suite, and I said no. I wanted to move all current occupants to the most basic accommodations available. She checked the system and said they had economy interior berths available, the kind with bunk beds and no windows, barely enough space to turn around in. They were on the lowest deck, near the engine rooms. I told her to book 7 of them, separate rooms for each couple and individual. She confirmed this would result in a significant refund to my card, and I said that was fine. Then I specifically requested that my parents be upgraded instead to a deluxe balcony cabin just for the 2 of them. She processed everything while I waited. The best part was the timing. All changes would take effect the next morning. Guest services would inform the affected parties at 7 a.m., giving them 2 hours to vacate the suite and move to their new accommodations before the ship docked at our next port. I asked if my parents could be notified separately, and the representative said she'd arrange for a private meeting with them in the morning. I wrote them a quick note explaining everything, asking her to give it to them during that meeting. Then I went to the yacht. The crew welcomed me aboard like I was royalty. The cabin was immaculate, all dark wood and soft lighting, with a bed that felt like sleeping on a cloud. They asked about my preferences for the next day's itinerary, and I told them I wanted to see Cinque Terre, the Italian coastal villages. They said they could arrange a private tour with a local guide, plus a seafood lunch at a family-owned restaurant not accessible to cruise ships. I slept better that night than I had in months. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages. 37 calls, 60-something texts, all from various family members. I ignored them while having breakfast on the yacht's deck, watching the sunrise over the Italian coast. Around 9 a.m., I finally checked the messages. They were exactly what I expected. Angry accusations, demands for explanations, guilt trips about family loyalty. My younger cousin called me petty. My aunt said I was being childish. My uncle's brother, who I still barely knew, sent a long text about how I'd ruined the family reunion. There was one message from my dad. It just said they'd gotten my note, that he and my mom understood, and they'd like to meet me for lunch at the port if I had time. The yacht docked at a private marina in Cinque Terre. My parents met me there, and we had lunch at that family restaurant the crew recommended. My mom looked tired, and my dad seemed disappointed, but not with me. They told me what happened that morning. The guest services staff had knocked on the suite door at 7 a.m. sharp. When my aunt answered, they informed everyone they had 2 hours to relocate. The chaos that followed was apparently spectacular. My cousins couldn't believe they were being moved to economy berths. My aunt kept insisting there was a mistake, that her nephew wouldn't do this. My uncle tried calling the cruise line's customer service, only to be told the primary card holder had every right to modify the reservation. When they realized I was serious, the anger turned to panic. They tried calling me, texting me, even had the ship's staff try to locate me. But I was already off the ship, unreachable. My parents had been given their new cabin information separately. My mom said the deluxe balcony room was beautiful, that I shouldn't have spent more money on them. I told her she deserved it. My dad asked if I was okay. I told him honestly that I was better than okay. I felt liberated. For years, I'd let myself be taken advantage of by extended family, always playing the role of the generous one while getting nothing but criticism in return. I was done with that. My mom said my aunt wanted to apologize. I asked if she'd actually apologized, or if she just wanted access to better accommodations again. My mom didn't answer, which was answer enough. We spent a beautiful afternoon in Cinque Terre, just the three of us, walking through Vernazza and Monterosso, eating gelato, taking photos. No drama, no tension, just family time with the people who actually mattered. Update 1. The rest of the cruise was blissful. The yacht crew took me to places I never would have seen otherwise. In Corsica, we anchored in a private cove where I swam in water so clear I could see 30 feet down. In Sardinia, I hiked with a guide who showed me ancient ruins that weren't on any tourist maps. Every meal was incredible, every sunset perfect. My parents joined me for some excursions. The yacht crew welcomed them warmly, and we had dinner on the deck one evening, just us three. My mom kept saying she felt guilty about my extended family, and I had to keep reminding her they'd made their choice. I heard through my parents that life in the economy berths was not going well. The rooms were tiny, hot, and the engine noise made sleeping difficult. My cousins had tried to party, but couldn't afford the drinks at ship prices. My aunt's knee bothered her because their deck was far from everything, requiring lots of stairs and walking. My uncle's brother and his wife had apparently cut their losses and were just staying in their cabin most of the time, counting down the days. On day 6, my aunt approached my parents at breakfast. She wanted to talk to me, to apologize properly. My dad gave me the message, and I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop on the ship's main deck. She looked exhausted when she sat down. She started with how this whole thing had gotten out of hand, that they'd made a mistake. I waited for the real apology, but instead, she said she hoped we could move past this misunderstanding. I asked what exactly she was misunderstanding. She fumbled, saying they hadn't meant to hurt my feelings, that they were just trying to make the trip enjoyable for everyone. I told her they'd made it enjoyable for me by showing exactly who they were. I said I'd spent years being the family ATM, always generous, always accommodating, and getting nothing but entitlement in return. They didn't want me on the trip, they wanted my money. And the moment I wasn't useful to them in the exact way they wanted, they voted me out. She tried to interrupt, but I kept going. I said the vote wasn't about cabin space or group dynamics. It was about control. They wanted the luxury I provided without having to deal with me as a person. They wanted a silent benefactor, not a family member. My aunt started crying, saying I was being cruel. I told her I was being honest, and maybe that was the problem. Maybe they'd gotten so used to me absorbing their behavior that basic accountability felt like cruelty. She asked what I wanted from her. I said nothing. I didn't want apologies, reconciliation, or explanations. I wanted her to understand that actions have consequences, and she'd just learned that lesson at bulk rate. Then I left. Update 2. The cruise ended in Barcelona. Disembarking was awkward since we were all going to the same airport, but I'd arranged for a private car. My parents rode with me while everyone else took the shuttle bus. At the airport, we ended up at adjacent gates. My cousins glared at me from across the terminal. My uncle's brother and his wife pretended I didn't exist. My uncle looked like he wanted to say something, but couldn't find the words. My younger cousin finally approached me. She said I'd overreacted, that all of this could have been resolved with a simple conversation. I asked if she remembered what happened when I tried to have a conversation. She said that was different, that I'd misunderstood their intentions. I told her their intentions were clear the moment they took a vote behind my back. They hadn't wanted to talk. They'd wanted to remove an inconvenience. And I'd simply granted their wish while establishing my own boundaries. She called me vindictive. I said I preferred the term self-respecting. My flight home was peaceful. Business class, good movie selection, no family drama. I slept most of the way, the best sleep I'd had in years. Update 3. It's been 2 months since the cruise. The family group chat is dead. Nobody posts anymore, and I've muted it anyway. My parents talk to me regularly, and we've actually grown closer through all of this. We're planning a trip together next year, just the 3 of us, somewhere quiet. My aunt sent me a Facebook message last week. Long, rambling, full of justifications and half apologies. She said the family was fractured because of my actions, that holidays would never be the same. She implied I owed it to everyone to fix things. I didn't respond. My younger cousin posted something vague on social media about toxic people who value money over family. Several relatives liked it. I didn't engage. Here's what I learned from that cruise. You teach people how to treat you. For years, I taught my extended family that they could use me without consequence. That my generosity was unconditional and unlimited. That their comfort mattered more than my dignity. The cruise changed that equation. When they literally voted me out of a space I paid for, they revealed who they really were. And when I responded by setting boundaries, they revealed something else. They'd never valued me as family. They'd valued what I could provide. The money I spent on that yacht, on my parents' upgrade, on completely disrupting their comfortable arrangements was worth every cent. Not as revenge, though I won't pretend that wasn't satisfying, but as a lesson to myself that I deserved better than being treated like a walking checkbook. Some people think I went too far. That family deserves more grace, more chances, more patience. Maybe they're right. Maybe I could have sat everyone down and explained how their behavior hurt me. Maybe we could have worked through it. But I'd spent years giving chances, years being patient, years extending grace that was never reciprocated. The vote was just the final, clarifying moment in a long pattern I'd been ignoring. I don't regret what I did. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that people I considered family saw me as so disposable. I regret the years I wasted trying to buy their affection with generosity. But I don't regret standing up for myself. I don't regret the yacht, the downgrades, or the uncomfortable conversations that followed. Because for the first time in my relationship with my extended family, I put myself first. And that, more than any cruise or sunset or private tour, was worth everything. If you'd like to see more stories like this, a gentle tap on the subscribe button would mean the world to us.